You know, since I just talked about someone who was against the State of the Union, I talked about Joe Candy. Let's talk about someone who was in favor of the State of the Union. That being the woke prince for young conservatives, Ben Shapiro. Oh, God. I was watching this, and may I just say, it began with Ben, who was mildly annoyed by the tone of his voice, that Democrats would dare not stand for Trump's State of the Union address. I mean, at least Republicans had the decency to do that when they were also breaking the filibustering record and promising they'd make the president fail. You know, this is what amuses me because Republicans are now complaining, oh, Democrats are so mean on Donald Trump, they're so mean on Donald Trump, they're so mean on Donald Trump. Um, when meanwhile, during the entire Obama administration, do I have to remind you, I think it was the inauguration. It showed a clip. It was like, I think on Hannity's show, it was just Obama getting inaugurated. And it played the scary music. Ooh, spooky. You know? No, you've been doing that. You guys do that too. In fact, you do that more so. Mitch McConnell broke the filibustering record during the Obama administration. But, you know, Nancy Pelosi said something kind of mean. And even then, we have top Democratic officials. We had Dianne Feinstein, who's been a senator in the Democrats for 25 years, half a quarter of a century. And she's talking about how, no, I actually agree with him quite a bit of the policy. Nancy Pelosi votes with him quite a bit. Chuck Schumer votes with him every now and then. Chuck Schumer's extremely weak, but apparently that's all mean. But this enraged Ben, kind of, because America is not only great, but it's especially great now. Look at look at all the technological advancements in the last 10 to 15 years. And you know, it makes me wonder. I wonder which group of people are trying to sort of send us back before that time, trying to conserve, if you will, an older generation, saying that they're going to make America like something it once was again. Huh. And I wonder which group of people want to progress us into the era that Ben Shapiro seems to really like. Makes you think. But Ben also had opinions on the speech, too. For instance, he liked how Donald Trump was an unapologetic patriot who talked about how great America was, and has been and always will be. I mean, just ask the citizens of Iraq, who we toppled the leader of, and as a result created a power vacuum that led to ISIS. Okay, I know Iraq war is becoming a meme at this point, but I still think it needs to be brought up from time to time. But okay, fine, that's kind of unfair. How about we ask the citizens of Iran, the country that Ben, I presume, doesn't really care for? And to be fair, I don't really like Iran either. But you see, in the 1950s, the United States installed the Shah, which were a brutal dictatorship, and then that led to extremists, which led to an Islamic revolution, which led to the Iran we all know and hate today, and have been enemies with, except for that one weird time in the 1980s where Reagan stopped being enemies with them so we could sell them weapons. That was a mouthful. Yeah, you see all these pictures in conservative circles. It's like Iran before the revolution, Iran after the revolution. What they don't tell you is before the revolution, they were living under a literal dictatorship. And don't get me wrong, the Ayatollah is essentially a dictatorship too. It's not really much better than the Shah was. However, you still can't deny who installed the Shah. And by the way, official CIA documents determined that was for oil. Because Iran didn't want to give us their natural resources. But okay, fine. You can make a slim case that Iraq is better now and that Iran was better than the US. So let's talk about Cambodia, Ben. That is a country that in the 1970s we bombed for no real reason. Like, legitimately, there was almost no reason aside from they may be commies, which turned out to be a funny excuse. Essentially, that was when Henry Kissinger was still Secretary of State, and Kissinger essentially just used communism in the same way Donald Rumsfeld used 9/11. Just anything, oh, you don't like us? Well, communism. Exactly. So we bombed there for no real reason, and then that led to a huge amount of nationalism, which led to installing Pol Pot, who was a brutal communist dictator. Oh, the irony. So Ben, if you want to talk about how great America is, why don't you talk to those other countries? There are studies that where they go to other countries and ask who the biggest threat to world peace is. The United States usually gets number one. And yet we are somehow loved by other countries and we're all this amazing and great. It doesn't seem like that. We don't keep world peace. We're considered the biggest threat to it. And that's not even getting into the countless amounts of South American governments we just decided to topple, especially during the Cold War. Or look at Chile. Look at Chile. They had a democratic election and they picked a socialist leader. So we went in there and we installed it and we did a coup. We did a coup. Could you imagine how Ben Shapiro would react if, after, I don't know, say Donald Trump was elected, all of a sudden, these other countries that were more left wing, like Norway, said, no, we don't like this. It's too conservative. We're going to overthrow your leader. Could you imagine how Ben Shapiro would react to that? I'd assume not nicely. But in the interest of fairness, Ben Shapiro also had some criticism of Donald Trump's speech. Mainly that he was not fiscally responsible enough. He did not mention fiscal responsibility. He did not mention deficits because he doesn't care about the deficits. Which me and him agree on. Me and Ben agree on. Donald Trump does not care about the deficits by any means. However, then he lists some of the people who did care about the deficits. And of course, his list is Ronald Reagan. Because I'm officially about to announce the official Republican Mad Lib, or conservative Mad Lib, or whatever you want to call it. It's good thing Ronald Reagan. That's what they do. But okay, let's look at Reagan's fiscal responsibility. Ronald Reagan was, of course, the president who borrowed more than every other president before him combined and tripled the national debt by the time he left office. Doesn't sound all that responsible to me, Ben. But that's it. I'm Ephrom, and good night.